we'll do some observations. There will be a homework assignment associated with the observation. Okay, it's a writing assignment. I'll start. I'll start getting you guys signed up. What I would like to do is do it Sunday evening, and then Tuesday evening, which means we won't have class on Tuesday. Okay, and so again, we leave around 5 o'clock on Tuesday, and the same drill. Sunday and Tuesday, look at your calendars. I'll be asking you to sign up. Any questions on that? Okay, midterm review. I'm going to quickly go through kind of just basics of what we've covered. We talked about early civilizations and some of their the myths and how their myths influence society. We defined a myth as a story about gods and interaction with humans. Myths are neither true nor untrue. They provide a set of values to society. And myths change over time. They get embellished and change, all right? In a textbook, I had you look at how we define these myths. This would be an easy question to ask, either on a midterm or a final exam, is to give you some myth and ask you to where it ends up on this diagram. We looked at the Greeks as after we studied these ancient myths, then the Greek civilization was stable and allowed a closer look at nature in a more analytical way. This started with the Ionians and Thales, and of course, cornered the olive market, and he also predicted the eclipse of 28 May 585 BC. At a similar kind of time, the Eleatics were established in southern Italy. Their motto was "What is cannot change." Remember Zeno's paradox, that Achilles could not catch the tortoise because the tortoise kept advancing. Of course, we know that's not true because series converge. Then there was also the Pythagoreans, and they defined everything by numbers and used mathematics, right? This created a dilemma. The Ionians said change, the Eleatics say no change, the Pythagoreans said they don't care, get all done with numbers. Enter the atomists, Critias and Democritus. Xavier, you did a great job with pronunciation of all those names. Those are really tough. The Critias and Democritus formed the atomists and said that these two concepts can coexist, right? You can have change and no change. And they came up with the idea of indestructible atoms, but that's the no change. But by putting different atoms together, you can get change. Of course, there was the golden age of Greece, thanks to Pericles and a stable society and a benevolent ruler. That led to Socrates and the importance of asking questions. Plato, who said that heavenly bodies are perfect spheres, they travel in perfect circles, and ideas are only true reality, and of course, save the phenomena. That was Plato's theme. Aristotle then follows, and he divides the cosmos into realms and uses nested spheres to describe the heavens. Also, shortly after that was Achilles, who brought in mathematics and engineering to try and understand our world. Next along the line was Hipparchus, studied the stars, probably didn't invent the astrolabe, but used the astrolabe, used scientific instruments to measure the location of the stars and create a catalog or table of those star locations that we still use today. The Greek Empire expanded significantly, but off the top. At the same time that the Greeks had really expanded, the Roman empire starts to form with Romulus and Remus. The famous story of Remus is killed by Romulus. He builds a city in his name. Lots of young males flee to the city, refugees. He attracts women by throwing a big party, and then captures the women. That starts a war. And this is the legend of the saving the women. The war gets very fierce, and the Romans at first are successful, but then the surrounding states start to win some of the battles. The women step in and say, whoa, because they have their husbands fighting against their fathers and brothers. They stop the war, and Romulus mysteriously disappears. The Roman Empire did not impose its influence as it expanded throughout Europe and Asia. They essentially accepted other people's culture. And you can see that in the gods. If you're Ceres, Roman god is essentially Demeter, the Greek god. During the Roman era, Ptolemy comes along, another great astronomer, develops a complete model of the cosmos using epicycles, which last for 1,000 years. Roman Empire gets really big, eventually collapses into two, with Constantine taking the eastern half of the Roman Empire and moving the capital to Constantinople, which is today it's Istanbul. And now that the Roman Empire is starting to become unstable, there's a lot of problems with the Roman government. It's expanded too much. There's a lot of corruption. And so the church starts to come to power and provide a moral stability of the people in the Roman Empire. St. Augustine takes over and says that we don't need to study natural phenomena. That's knowledge simply for knowledge's sake, and suppresses this thirst for knowledge, and which sends Europe into the Dark Ages, right? Even though there's the Dark Ages, universities start to spring up on the continent, and this leads to a revival of the Greek teachings, especially Aristotle. St. Thomas Aquinas was educated in this system, and he embraces Aristotle and pushes for Aristotelian philosophy, Aristotelian physics to dominate the teaching. While this is going on, Islam spreads throughout Asia and Northern Africa, and then into what is now Spain and Portugal, bring new ideas to the European continent, and this lifts Europe out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance. Some of the famous contributors from the Arab world are depicted here. Al-Tusi, we point him out as father of trigonometry, but also the had this idea of a sun-centered solar system, and his work is depicted there on the left. The work of Copernicus is on the right. So it's quite obvious that Copernicus was very much influenced by the Islamic world. So then Copernicus comes along. His system is the sun is the center of the planetary system, the moon, and only the moon orbit the Earth, then the Earth spins on its axis, and the Earth and the planets and the sun are in circular orbits. The reason he has circular orbits is because he believed in save the phenomenon from Plato, and so circular orbits fit the save the phenomena philosophy. Right? After Copernicus, shortly after Copernicus, Tycho Brahe comes along. He's kind of a feisty character. He comes up with an experiment that will determine whether the epicycles from Ptolemy are how the solar system is described, or is it Copernicus's sun-centered system. So he has this experiment. He does the experiment. He has problems doing the experiment, but eventually he gets a result. The result wasn't actually that accurate. He sees that Mars is every so often wanders around and wanders off where it should be. So he comes up with his own solar system, a little bit patterned after Copernicus, but definitely different. So the moon and the sun go around the Earth in Tycho Brahe's solar system, and then all of the other planets and the stars orbit around the sun. And you can see this is a depiction of that, right? Next in the line here is Kepler, Kepler, very accomplished scientist, rises very quickly. He comes up with this idea of using geometry. Theories must be confirmed by observation, right? Comes up with this idea of platonic solids to explain the number of planets and the relative position of the orbits of the planets. These platonic solids seem to describe the solar system to describe Copernicus' solar system quite well. So he latches onto that idea. At the same time, the Protestant Revolution is taking place in Europe, and the Catholic Reformation is countering the Protestant Revolution, and Kepler gets caught in between that. He's forced to leave Austria. He flees and finds a home with Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe assigns him the task of figuring out what the hell's going on with Mars. Why does it jump out of its position every so often? The reason for this is because if you are looking at a perfect circular orbit, that this doesn't account for the elliptical path, and so that's why it looks like it's in the wrong place. But they didn't know that at the time. So Tycho assigns this to Kepler. Kepler says, I can do it in 8 days, he said. It took him 8 years. In the meantime, Tycho Brahe dies, and bounce back up here. But Kepler eventually comes up with elliptical orbits with the sun at one of the foci of the ellipse. And then we have Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Planets travel in elliptical orbits. The sun at one focus, they sweep about equal areas in equal times. And the square of the planet's orbital period is proportional to the mean cubic distance. So that's basically what we covered in the first half of the semester. The exam will have one essay question. I think I asked for a half a page essay. It will be based on the 2 videos that I'm about to show you. And then there'll be 2 more. I've already put the whole exam together. There's 2 more short answer questions, like why is the sky blue? Write 2 or 3 sentences on that. First is an essay question, and 2 short answer questions. Then there are 10 quiz questions. The quiz questions are taken from the lectures that you all provided, the presentations that you all provided. So a couple of what I think are pretty easy questions based on the presentations over the last week. A couple of those. There'll be a few questions from our first quiz. So that's up on that's in Canvas. I'll put everything in Canvas hopefully today. Yeah, I'll put it in today that I've presented. So you can go back and look at the notes. And then the majority of the quiz questions are on the chapter that I assigned to read, right? The one that talks about Kepler and all that stuff. So a essay question, 2 short answer questions, 10 quiz questions, and there's an extra credit question. Should be static. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you exactly what the question, oh, I will, send everyone at the beginning of class at 8 o'clock, I'm gonna email out the exam to everyone. Okay, so if you're in class, you have a computer, you'll receive it here. If you're on Zoom, you'll receive the exam right at 8 o'clock. You can start. Is it open? Open book, open notes, open everything. That exam needs to be turned in by 9:15. I mean, if you do it in class, you do it on your computer in class, just email it to me. Also, if you're in class, I will have hard copies here in class. I will hand out the hard copies. So if you want to sit at your desk and write your answers, it's the only time I'll take written answers. If you want to sit at your desk and write your answers out, you can hand it in, hand it in at 9. So any questions? If I made that clear? Get it, yeah.
Can you use the computer if you write it down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use it.
Okay.
Anything else? So you can take it in class, you can take it on Zoom. I would prefer you take it online, it's easier for me to grade. If you type it up and email it in. Handwritten, make sure you have good handwriting if you're gonna do handwritten. Because if I can't read something, I'm gonna give you a good grade. All right, the essay question. Based on these 2 YouTube videos.
Where does Yvette Carroll stand on abortion?
I
That's
know
a great
that.
question. Solid 100% pro-life voting record. I wish we could have eliminated all abortions in the state.
Yvette Carroll is too dangerous for us. DCCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Caught up in the controversy over TNT are astronomers. Many at the University of Hawaii tell us they want to see the project completed at Mauna Kea. Sam Spangler spoke to one of them today and joins us now with more. Sam?
Lauren, I spoke with the director of the Institute for Astronomy. He believes the 30-meter telescope on Mauna Kea is the best instrument to answer one of humanity's biggest questions. Is there life outside of Earth? The 30-meter telescope is different than any other telescope in its ability to study if exoplanets, which are other planets orbiting stars in our universe, are capable of sustaining life.
So that's kind of the holy grail, if you will, of that area of astronomy. Find another Earth around another star. And the 30-meter telescope facilitates this in a way that is not possible with existing telescopes because of the advantages I explained. The exoplanets are very faint, so you need a big telescope to see them at all. And also they're close to their parent star, and so you need a big telescope to be able to see the planet separate from the star.
Dr. McLaren calls Mauna Kea the top astronomy site on Earth due to its geographic advantages.
Its main advantage, though, is that because it's on a shield volcano out in the middle of a big flat ocean, the airflow over the mountain is smooth, it doesn't become turbulent, and that means that the sharpness of the images is much higher than you can get at other locations.
The telescopes all work in concert with one another, making operations smoother if TMT is in Hawaii. But the concern over the alteration of terrain on the mountain is not lost on Dr. McLaren.
To reduce the overall impact of astronomy on Mauna Kea, it's been agreed that a number of observatories will be removed in the time frame that the TNT becomes operational. Those commitments were made as a form of mitigation in order to not continually increase the footprint of astronomy on Mauna Kea.
Dr. McLaren also pointed out that TMT will be donating $1 million a year to STEM education programs in Hawaii, and that the observatories power 500 jobs, many that go to locals and many that aren't astronomers. Warren, we'll send it back to you.
So TMT, 30-meter telescope, funded by the National Science Foundation, will be the biggest telescope ever attempted to be built, a single telescope ever attempted. The site of that they chose was Mauna Kea because it's a very pristine site, very good site for astronomy. there's another side to the story.
What?
Getting ahead.
It's a,
30 meter
big monolithic mirror. I mean, it's a whole bunch of segmented mirrors that connect together.
Yeah, but like, is it infrared, optical?
Oh, it's optical. Yeah, optical. Sorry.
Shouldn't be so hard. I'm Tara Jaramillo, and I know families are struggling with inflation. That's why I helped eliminate taxes.
Also on the Big Island, as protests continue over construction on Mauna Kea, we just learned there's no timetable to restart construction after the 1-week moratorium ends on Tuesday. This was the scene this morning at UH Manoa. They came out by the hundreds, both young and old, to protest what would be the world's largest telescope to be built on Mauna Kea. Today, the demonstrators brought their mana, their power, in protest against the 30-meter telescope. With the protests growing larger and spreading across the country, we wanted to know why it didn't happen sooner. So we sent Nestor Garcia to the demonstration, and he follows it now. Nestor.
Marissa, I spoke with a veteran Hawaiian activist who told me that Hawaiians were actually caught by surprise at the scope and scale of the project. To make sure their message carried weight, the demonstrators took puhaku, stones, from the area where university students study the culture and history of Hawaii. The stones represent their voice, a voice they carried from this place. A quarter-mile down the street to the place where they want their message heard and seen.
You feel it. You feel the energy from all angles. It's just affected everywhere. So it's just gotta do what we think is right.
The stones wound up on the front lawn that faces the office of the university president. This is where they built their ahu, their memorial. This demonstration at the Manoa campus of the University of Hawaii comes a few days after Governor David Ige called for a 1-week moratorium on construction of the 30-meter telescope atop Mauna Kea. As you see the activity out here in Bachman Hall, what's your reaction?
You know, we absolutely respect the rights of the protesters. Everyone's voice should be heard, and that's the essential purpose of an institute of higher education.
I asked a veteran activist who helped to organize this protest why this did not happen when the telescope was first being discussed a few years ago.
When we watched those proceedings, we said, oh yeah, no way they're gonna build on that mountain. And then they did it. And now we're like, what?
Why is it so important that you take a stand?
Because that's our kupuna's aina. That land is sacred to us Kanaka.
Bree says these ongoing demonstrations remind him of the protests years ago to stop the military from bombing the island of Koholave, well before the time of many of the young people I saw here at the Manoa campus.
This new generation, this is their Kaho'olawe. And they're doing a great job.
Now again, a spokesperson for the 30-meter telescope is now saying there is no firm date to resume construction. I was told that talks involving various stakeholders, including the governor and the university, are ongoing. I will continue to monitor the progress of those talks and report on any developments. Nestor Garcia, K2N2 News.
Okay, so here's the dilemma. The state of the art in astronomy is that the next step for optical astronomy is to build very, very large telescope, 30-meter diameter telescope, okay? The science that will bring is the dilemma is the site that we picked is a sacred site, right? And so the indigenous people there are like, no, you've already built a bunch of telescopes up here, and we're not happy with what you did. We want you to stop doing it. Okay, so that's a dilemma. You'll have a question based on that dilemma. Good luck. Any questions? See you on Thursday.
Right.